There's nothing inevitable about exclusion. We make choices about how we prepare our students for life after university, especially our students who live with disability. And this idea that there's nothing inevitable about exclusion is a key reason I work with people with disability. And it's a persistent form of exclusion that prompted my research fellowship. Specifically, compared to their mainstream counterparts, students with disability remain more likely to be unemployed after graduation. And if they do get work, they're more likely to be in jobs that don't use their university skills or education. And they are also underrepresented in employers' graduate programs. They make up only 2% of participants in these important employment pathways. Now, we know that more targeted career services for students with disability are needed at university in Australia, and we know that universities continue to experience barriers to providing them, but we don't know why these barriers persist. They include things like scarce resources and lack of service integration, but we don't know why, as a sector, these things continue to obstruct targeted service provision. And that's what my fellowship investigates. Now, there is nothing inevitable about this state of affairs. My fellowship findings are drawn from national surveys with students and staff, online staff focus groups, and case study interviews, and staff are very clear about what they need. There's a strong collaborative theme that runs through the things that staff say would help them provide more targeted career support for students with disability. And the top three things are more collaboration with external stakeholders, followed by staff training, followed by more collaboration with internal stakeholders. But there are things that complicate fulfilling these needs. And a big issue is that students and staff see careers matters differently. Of course, you'd expect that because our experience is different. But the thing to note is that as a body, we as staff could be much better attuned to how students with disability feel about their careers. We'll look at three examples for now: personal career goals, an example of a career challenge, and how students feel about engaging with that challenge. So personal career goals first. Survey feedback suggests that at this fundamental level, there is a huge difference between students' careers thinking and staff perception of it. For example, more than 70% of students with disability say yes, they know what work they want to do, but if you put this question to university staff, in your opinion, do most students with disability know what work they want to do? Barely 30% of staff say yes. And when asked about the challenges students with disability face getting the work they want, students and staff agree on the number one challenge, which is people making inaccurate assumptions about their abilities. But staff and students disagree on the second most important challenge. Staff nominate unconscious bias. Students say it's being asked to share disability information with employers, and sharing disability information with employers is fraught for many students. About 1/3 of students with disability say they feel able to do this, but only 12% of staff thought that students would feel able to share disability information with employers. So as a group, we're underestimating students' willingness to engage with this difficult challenge. And these discrepancies warrant further investigation because they represent more than just differences of opinion. There could be that there are different factors behind it. Low careers confidence might lead some students with disability to present more readily to staff, or they might hide their aspirations from staff because they're used to people downplaying their aspirations simply because they have disability. And that is a real concern. Not being attuned to the careers thinking of students with disability risks imposing career limiting mindsets on them. It risks cutting careers thinking off from who they are, and that's the very foundation that their careers thinking should be grounded in. Instead of encouraging this foundation, we actually risk framing the disabilities that students manage as powerful careers disablers, when we should be doing the exact opposite. We should be focused on enabling their strategic, evidence-based consideration of themselves as emerging professionals. In fact, their entire university experience should progressively help them better understand deeply personal career development questions, such as how they want to use their skills, what it is about them that makes them good or will make them good at using them, what they want their work to mean, the places where they can best make their professional contributions, and what they'd like to learn next. Now, these are the underpinnings of productive career confidence, and they're also exactly what employers look for in prospective employees. They're also at the heart of current career development theory. It's referred to in the literature as a constructivist approach, or the inside-out approach to careers education. And it's particularly relevant to students with disability because they're particularly at risk of internalising negative assumptions or attitudes about their skills and abilities. Now, when you create space for students with disability to focus on their abilities and their aspirations, it can unleash their ability to redefine the role that their experience of disability plays in their career development. I've seen disability become a source of career strength for some, while many have also discovered that as far as their career development is concerned, their disability is the least interesting thing about them. Now, this kind of career support has to be tailored to the particular obstacle that each student faces. And my fellowship has found that university careers practitioners identify that very point. They're very upfront about saying training is a priority to help us develop expertise in this specialist area. So we need to consider formal training, but we've also got the chance to use this to help with the issue of lack of service integration. This is our chance to get on the same page. And my fellowship highlights that staff from different parts of the university have different and not necessarily compatible perspectives about what helps students with disability get and keep meaningful work. If we're to give students with disability consistent messages, we need to understand each other's professional positions. And a good place to start would be for the sector to use existing expertise in some areas to upskill colleagues in others. For example, careers and disability staff can upskill each other, not to become expert in each other's work, but to understand more about what each other's foundation competencies are. And we can do this by collaborating on careers initiatives that benefit students with disability. And in doing so, we can develop a common language for disability career development learning. And having a common language means more efficient and coordinated employability effort that would better integrate traditionally separate university services. One project-based example of this kind of service integration is partnership with a disability employment services provider, or DES for short. Currently, universities can host a DES provider on campus through the NDCO's Uni Specialist Employment Partnership, or USEP program, or Wise Employment's GradWise program. These arrangements have helped some universities facilitate students' access to disability-confident employers and facilitate closer collaboration between disability services and careers education in the process. But entering into these arrangements can be complex. There are currently 14 universities with DES partnerships, and my fellowship highlights that there are key enablers that would help other universities develop relationships with DES providers, such as staff having access to information about partnership guidelines and choices, and staff having access to precedent, to examples of university collaboration with DES providers, and staff having access to a safe place to discuss issues with colleagues from early adopter universities. So the emerging opportunity that the higher education sector has is to reduce the barrier of service separation by taking a more integrated approach to supporting the career development of our students with disability. And we can do this by tailoring activities that respond to the needs of each student. In the scheme of things represented by this picture, the student will occupy a different place in the support hierarchy depending on where they're at the time and depending on the particular careers issues that they're dealing with. They might be using a little or a lot of support from different university areas, such as the Careers Office, Disability or Work Integrated Learning, academic skills support, faculty or employers, but also each other. At Swinburne University, for example, students have been brought together to work in a student community of practice where they experience the benefit of belonging to a community of career development learners and the benefits of supporting each other. And this collaborative approach puts students in more control of their career management when they leave university because they get a broader, more informed careers base from which to transition to the world of work. And this brings me to the point that I'd like to finish on. The question for us as a sector is, how do we make this happen? Well, staff collaboration, enabling each other's ability, sharing information and resources between universities, as well as departments, are key aims of the National Disability Career Development Learning Community of Practice that's emerging from this fellowship. You're invited to come and experience this community of practice online at December sessions of the National Association of Graduate Careers Advisory Services, or NAGCAS conference, and the Australian Tertiary Education Network on Disability, or ATEND Pathways 15 conference. There'll be tips, discussion, and information sharing about the choices and issues that city and regional colleagues have engaged with to develop targeted careers services for their students with disability to help you develop your own strategies. By working together, we can improve students' ability to identify and get work that's meaningful for them. We'll be doing this at a national level. We'll be helping them understand and be valued for their skills, abilities, and professional aspirations. We'll be making their inclusion more routine, and we'll be doing this for students that would otherwise remain marginalised. This speaks directly to the higher education sector's mission to be a civilising influence in society, and it comes down to making these kinds of choices. They're choices we need to make. We can help each other in the process, and that's what it means to say there's nothing inevitable about exclusion. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Disability Career Development Learning Community of Practice. Thanks for listening.